Hey cycling friends, James with Team Finish Strong, and I am here on location in Kapeole, Hawaii, where I am enjoying some beautiful Hawaiian temperatures. You know, I think the temperatures here the last few days have been in the 70s and 80s, while I've heard that friends and family back home have been enduring temperatures, I think in the frigid teens and 20s, is that right? Well, if that's the case, friends, I am truly sorry. I apologize. You know, I can't control the weather, but truly, if I could, I would bring some of this beautiful Hawaiian weather back home with me and give it all to you. Well, all joking aside, you know, here in the US, we are truly blessed with all sorts of amazing modern conveniences and infrastructure, like what we have here at this resort. But you know, it's not that way in every part of the world. And in fact, in some parts of the world, I hear they only receive just a few hours of electricity per day. Can you imagine that? Just a few hours of electricity per day? My gosh. But you know, it's even worse in some other parts of the world where they don't have any electricity at all. And you know, for those folks that are in those parts of the world where there's no electricity, when night falls, this is what you have. And this is what you see. Nothing. And for those parts of the world where there is no electrical light, this is the only light that they have. The light of a lamp or a candle. And it's been this way for thousands of years. You know, up until modern society, this was the kind of light that people had. The light of a lamp. The light of a candle. You know, I think about in the Bible where it says in Psalm 119, verse 105, where it says, "Your word is a lamp unto my feet and a light to my path." And I think about this light. I think about how this light is very, very dim and can provide just enough light for my immediate surroundings. You know, if this is the kind of light that the Bible is talking about, then it reminds me of how we have to be dependent on that light just to take our very next step. So you see, friends, this is the kind of relationship God wants to have with us. One where we're dependent on Him. One where we're trusting Him for our next step. You see, back in the Old Testament times, when God was leading Israel by the hand out of Egypt, He provided them manna. Now, manna was something that appeared every day for the Israelites, and they were told to only gather a day's worth. But those who gathered more than a day's worth found that it rotted. And so that was God teaching them to trust Him for the next day's provision. You know, Jesus said in the New Testament that we were to trust God in that way for our provision, that we're not to worry about tomorrow. You see, God gives us grace just for today, and He gives us power and strength for today. Not for tomorrow's problems, not for next week's problems or next year's problems. That's something we tend to do, don't we? We tend to extrapolate out and project out our life and try to plan its course, when God says that we're like the wind, that it blows wherever it pleases, and we don't know where it's coming from or where it's going. You know, that was the kind of faith that God wanted to cultivate in us. And that's the kind of faith that He found in Abraham when He told Abraham to go to a place that He hadn't even told him where it was and what it was he was going to. But Abraham believed it by faith. And that's the kind of faith that God wants us to have. The kind of faith that, like this candle, allows us to see our next step. And you know, if you find yourself not knowing what the next step is, you might want to check and see if you did the last thing that God asked you to do. Because you see, friends, that's how God leads us. He wants us to follow Him. Well, friends, have a wonderful day. Stay warm wherever you're at in the world. Take care. God bless. And as always, finish strong.